Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Frankly Speaking Titans, right here, live from Hopkinsville, Kentucky, in our Frankly Speaking Sports Studio. We're about 7 miles from the Fort Campbell Army Base, and we want to always, or as always, start our show by thanking the men and women who continually fight for us and support us and allow us to live the freedom that we live on a daily basis. We are so proud of them and want to thank them very much for serving our country. Just when you thought it couldn't get any more disappointing, what happens? It gets more disappointing. Another loss, another weekend of football, and it was a disappointing weekend as the Tennessee Titans lost to the Houston Texans by a score of 26 to nothing. Everybody was fired up. They saw we got Bo Hardigree calling the plays now. You got Brian Callahan, who's just head coaching now. What was going to happen? Nothing. Nothing was different than the previous week when Callahan called the plays. And like I said, it's getting to a point where everyone's getting frustrated. The coaches are getting frustrated. The players are getting frustrated. The fans are getting frustrated with the same old losing week after week after week. And Brian Callahan still remains the coach of this Tennessee Titans team. And you got to ask yourself, at what point is this team, the morale of the players, going to just fall apart and he's going to lose the clubhouse? And part of me is thinking that he is already or already has started to lose this clubhouse, and that's a bad thing for the Tennessee Titans and the entire organization. Right now, they're the laughing stocks of the entire NFL. And you know what? Before the season began, actually right after the pick was made, Cam Ward was picked, the number one pick. I made a statement, and a lot of people, may have agreed with me. Some may have disagreed with me, but I said Cam Ward should sit at least a couple of games, if not more. And everyone said, no, our best chance of winning is with Cam Ward. You know what? It doesn't matter who your quarterback is. You don't have a supporting cast, and there is no trust by this coaching staff in Cam Ward. You got to wonder, okay? You have to look back and wonder all those fans who were bad-mouthing Will Levis, all the media that was bad-mouthing Will Levis. I made this comment also. If Will Levis goes to another team, he would be a decent quarterback. And right now, I'm looking right, and I'm not I told you so person, but at the end of the day, Will Levis had no supporting cast. Either does Cam Ward. The only difference, and I will tell you, I feel they were a better team at this point of Cam Ward's career with Will Levis in the game. You have to wonder. The reason why some of these bonehead mistakes happen for Ward as well as Levis last year is because they're running for their lives. Yes, some of it is self-inflicted. They're holding the ball too long. They're making bonehead plays. But maybe the bonehead plays are a result of being pressured so much. And, when you look at Cam Ward, tell me about this, folks. He was 10 of 26, only completed 38.6% of his passes, had a 35.4 QBR. On the season, he's only 51.2% pass completions, averaging 153.5 yards a game, and he has a quarterback rating on the year of 63.9. He is no threat to any team. It's almost like this coaching staff says we don't want him throwing the ball any further than maybe 10 yards because they're afraid he'll get intercepted, picked off, make a mistake. But what they're doing to this kid right now is they're making him lose his psyche. What's going on now is it's going to become mental. He's going to start doubting himself. And people say, no, that's not Cam Ward. I don't care who you are. Failure makes you think differently than success. And right now, I don't care how well he handles adversity, it's getting to a point where you can see the frustration in this young man after the game. And of course, that's a good thing that he doesn't like losing. But by putting Brendan Allen in before the season started, they could have lost just as easily as with Cam Ward. But the difference was Ward would be on the sideline learning some knowledge, learning the pace of the game, learning different situations from the outside in, and be able to understand it better than trying to pick it up on the field. Now you're in a situation where you can't really take Cam Ward out, can you? Of course not. But let me tell you something. Will Levis last year was more of a threat because he could throw the deep pass and he could throw it successfully. Him and Ridley were starting to hit last year, towards the second half of the season. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Will Levis, is the next Tom Brady or Cam Ward, has the ability to be the next Tom Brady, but neither of these quarterbacks are going to be successful until this team puts a supporting cast. You have nobody on offense. When you look at the tapes and you break it down, sure, you can say Cam Ward's holding the ball too long on certain points, and some of those sacks are on him. Although he was only sacked, I say only, twice in the game versus the Texans. But you gotta understand something. These mistakes that he's making is, like I said, a result of that. They cannot get any separation, these wide receivers. If you watch their route running, it's terrible. It sucks. It completely sucks. Nobody can get separation. Nobody can get open. And what it's doing is making Cam check down. But at the same time, when you're not allowing this guy to throw the ball deep and they know you're throwing it short, what do you think's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? And as I look at a couple of things here, I want to read a couple of let me see if I can get this going here for you guys. I'm trying to get it going. All right, there we go. I mean, here's a game where they were 211 on third down efficiency. The league average for a year, or on the year so far, is 39 to 40%. That's average. Some teams are a little bit above, some are slightly below. Where are your Tennessee Titans? They are dead last, the 32nd team in third down efficiency at dismal, I didn't say dismal 27% third down efficiency. You can't expect to win. You cannot expect to win. And we'll go over some other things in a minute, but when you look at their statistics so far in the first 4 games, points scored per game, they're 31st, averaging 12.8 points a game. Points allowed, they're 20, allowing 30 points a game. Yards per game, they're 31st. Remember, there's only 32 damn teams in the league. Their yards per game, 240.5. Passing yards per game, they're 31st, 153.5 yards a game. Rushing, they're 29th. There's no damn offense anywhere on this team, averaging 87 yards a game. Time of possession, which we'll get to more in a minute, but they're 26th. And on third down efficiency, there's 32 teams in the league. They are dead last, number 32, with a 27.8%. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, they are 29th in pressure in the quarterback with only 4 sacks. So this is a team that in every single phase of the game is just suffering. But you can't just blame the defense for this, and I'll tell you why. In this game versus the Texans, they were on the field 67% of the time. 67% of the time in that game, they were on the field. That is crazy. What do you expect? If you look going into the fourth quarter, this was a 6-0 ball game, and it easily could have been a 6-6 ball game if Joey Sly didn't miss 2 field goals. But at the end of the day, what do you expect them to do in the fourth quarter? They're tired. They were on the field for 38 out of the 60 minutes in this game. Our offense was only on the field, that means 21 minutes of the game. So for 38 minutes, that defense is getting tired and tired. By the fourth quarter, they're going to be dead exhausted. And what they do, it showed. They gave up 20 points in the fourth quarter. Your offense is not helping this defense at all. Don't tell me this defense ain't helping the offense, because they are. They held them in check for 3 quarters a game. Some people say, well, Larry, they got to finish it. Damn it, they're exhausted. They're exhausted because they are continually on the field and there is no third down efficiency, so it's basically 3 and outs. They come back in. What's going on? They're back on the field huffing and puffing all over again. So you got to ask yourself, what does this team need to do to change? Obviously, they need to change the coach. There's no doubt about it. Why it hasn't happened yet is besides myself, because there is no leadership on this team. And we know that. We said this week after week after week, yet Amy Adams Strunk ain't doing anything about it. She's just watching and keeping quiet and letting things play out. Now, you can't name a new head coach right now. I understand that. But at the end of the day, you're better off going ahead and putting in an interim coach and having these players play their butts off for him. Because let me tell you, these players are playing for jobs. They're going to try to play, but you can see the energy is lacking on this team. The lack of belief is incredible on this team. They do not believe they have a chance to win, and that's on the coach. That is on the head coach. The head coach is not motivated, not developing, not doing anything to create excitement on this team. And as it continues, guess what's happening? The fans are tuning out. They're going to go watch the Nashville Predators. They're not going to watch the Tennessee Titans. It's an embarrassment, and something needs to be done. And I would be very, very, very extremely surprised if they lose this weekend to the Cardinals and nothing is going to happen. No move is going to be made, because a move definitely has to be made on this team to change things around. And now you got all phases of this team failing, not just the defense. Now, well, I don't think the defense is failing, so I will say that. But when you go ahead and look at it, special teams is now suffering because Joey Sly's missing field goal after field goal after field goal. Yes, he can hit some long shots, but I'll tell you what, right now, it's basically a trickling down effect. Everybody is affected by the lack of success on this team, and it's really starting to show in the players. Now, when you look at this team, they're going to go ahead and they're playing the Arizona Cardinals this weekend. The Arizona Cardinals are 2-2 on the year. I mean, you look at some of the players here, and I'm trying to lower this down here so I could see. There we go. When you look at this team, they are an offense that has some talent on it. But you got to remember, their running back is Trey Benson, and he's out. He's their leading rusher right behind Kyle Murray, who is another dual quarterback that you have to face. And he can run the ball effectively. Hasn't had the greatest of years. He's had a 66% completion rate. But when you look at this team, the second leader receiver on this team was Trey Benson. He's hurt now, which is a huge loss for the Arizona Cardinals because he catches a lot of passes out of the backfield. They also use their tight end a lot. Trey McBride. McBride is leading the team, I believe, in catches right now. And then you got Marvin Harrison Jr., who does offer a deep threat, but the success, he has 2 touchdowns on the year. But they have some talent on this team. They utilize these guys, but they're more of a short game and Russian type team. And I'll tell you what, if you're going to keep this defense again of the Tennessee Titans on the field a lot, I think Kyle Murray, I don't know if I said Stroud, I meant Kyle Murray. Kyle Murray is going to just run all day long. All day long they're going to run. So you ask yourself, what does the Titans have to do different in this game to be successful? And I got a simple answer. Everything. They need better coaching. They need third down efficiency. They need their special teams to kick field goals. But you can't rely on the 3. If you're going to score, the Tennessee Titans are going to score, they're going to score field goals because they can't score touchdowns. They got nobody. Ridley's playing the worst I've ever seen Calvin Ridley play. Dropping footballs, not running routes effectively. Hopkins up there, he's nothing special. Jefferson's nothing special. The only thing you got to watch for is Iron Manor, but Iron Manor can only do so much when everybody else is failing. They got an okay tight end in Gunnar Helm and Okonkwo, but I'm telling you what, This team has to open it up because right now the defense of all the opposing teams know they're not going to go deep. So they can play short, they can attack, they can penetrate the line, stop Tony Pollard, and know that they're only going to try to throw these 4 or 5 yard passes, that doesn't collect anything and puts you in long second and third downs. This team cannot allow this Cardinals team to hold the ball for 38 minutes of the game, 67% of the time. They will lose. They gotta mix it up on the play call, and you gotta throw deep because what happens when you throw deep is it pushes the DBs back, it pushes the linebackers back, it pushes everybody in a backwards formation so that now you can open up the field and throw it down the middle and get these pass completions that you need to collect first downs. But if they know you can't pass more than 10 yards at a time, there is no way you're going to be effective. There is no threat. Like I said earlier, Will Levis at least could throw the long ball, and they'd have to at least, hesitate a little bit to decide what he was going to do from a defensive side. With Ward, I can play defense and be successful against Cam Ward. Now, I'm not sitting here saying Cam Ward doesn't have the talent to be a good quarterback. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that once again, they did another quarterback wrong. By not getting a supporting cast, just like they did with Will Levis. You see Ward throwing interceptions, just like you've seen Levis throw interceptions. You're seeing some bonehead throws when you're about to get sacked and putting the ball up. Fortunately for Ward, the one pass worked. For Levis, we know what happened. But at the end of the day, you could put Tom Brady behind this offensive line, and he is still going to fail. There is no supporting cast. And it's not just the tight ends. It's not just the receivers. You're talking about everyone. They have nobody behind Pollard. What do you got? Chestnut? There's nobody that can relieve Pollard if he's having an off day or if he needs a blow so he can go on the sidelines and rest. There's nobody. The offensive line everybody thought was going to be much improved is not much improved. Okay, for whatever reason. Why? Probably because they're able to put a lot more pressure on this offensive line, put a lot more people up front because they know that Ward is not going to throw the ball deep, which allows their safeties to play up a little bit and allows the linebackers to pursue and penetrate more to go after, Ward. Say Levis, Ward, but after Cam Ward. So at the end of the day, I don't see this being a very successful outing for the Tennessee Titans. We wait for it, we wait for it, we wait for it, and it looks like this team is going to be 0-5 by the end of this weekend. And let me tell you, that's not negativism, folks. That's not me being negative. That's me actually telling you the facts. The facts is this is a very poor team from top to bottom. And it starts with the owner, Amy Adams, and it goes all down to the players and so on and so on. Again, I don't know who's making the decisions in the front office. If it's Boganzi, if it's Brinker. Seems like Brinker. But at the end of the day, Chad Brinker needs to stay out of it. Let Boganzi figure this out, and he will figure it out eventually. The problem is it won't be with Brian Callahan. We're not going to sit here and speculate who's going to be the next head coach, but there's some good candidates out there. I mean, we know everyone's talking Gruden and McCarthy, but, there's Flores, there's other ones. But like I said, we're not going to sit here and discuss that today. That's a talk for another time. But at the end of the day, folks, if this team is going to win, they're going to have to mix it up on offense and give the defense some help so they're not on the field 67% of the time. This is Larry Frank, frankly speaking Titans.